also like to introduce Sungjin, who is going to take on the challenge of translating for me. Okay, how's that? I'd like to introduce Sungjin, who is taking on the challenge of translating for me. For this talk, I've created a little plugin which demonstrates adding the grid generation and grid navigation systems to Unreal Engine. So in this talk, I'll be covering what plugins are, some of the possible things you can do with plugins, my process of creating the grid generation plugin, the key parts of the plugin, along with some helpful information to get you started. So what can you do with plugins? Plugins can be created to expand the Unreal Engine to introduce functionality independently of a version of the engine or your game. They can be used to create custom tools within the editor or expand the tools that are there with additional functionality. Create reusable code across projects. Create and expose new actors and new classes, even new blueprints. Actually, my slides don't seem to be changing yet. Plugins self-contained set of modules, meaning they shouldn't rely on other plugins or other modules. They can contain code or content that can do almost anything, including art, sound, blueprints, and other content that might be useful with full plugin, such as slate brushes or editor buttons. There are two main types of plugins. You can create engine plugins, which can be used across multiple projects, or game plugins, which can be used for a single project. A plugin can contain multiple modules, which can each be used and loaded at different times of your game/editor. These modules are defined inside of your uPlugin descriptor. There are three main types of modules. Runtime modules, which are loaded at any time the editor or standalone game is run, even in shipping builds. For the grid generation plugin, this contains code that is primarily used by the game project, but the editor also has access to the runtime plugin so that gameplay settings can be changed. Editor modules are loaded when the editor is. It is not loaded when the game is run or in shipping builds. For the grid generation plugin, this contains the code that is only used by the editor to generate the grid. Developer modules are only loaded in developer builds of the game and editor and are not loaded in shipping builds. This could contain debugging information for the plugin you are creating. So what kind of features are we going to be adding to the engine and our games in the form of this grid navigation plugin? In the editor module, it will automatically divide up the world into custom-sized grid squares. It would be really cool to add the option for hexagons in the future. It also needs to find suitable locations to place the grid, and if possible, for one grid node to reach another grid node. In the runtime module, it will define what a grid location in the world actually is. It will also have new movement components, which could be loaded, which could be added to a character that would allow the character to navigate through the grid. So I'm now going to jump into the editor and demonstrate some of the features that I've just mentioned. The most important thing is to make sure that the editor plugin is loaded. If it's not, you'll need to restart the editor with it. One of the first things I'm going to demonstrate is the ability to show and hide the grid. So as you can see here, we now have a grid of the world, which is very useful. Also extended the build menu to enable Unibuild and hide the grid. See down the bottom here we have a nice notification pop up there showing us the progress of the grid. And the water center. That's really the main features of the editor. I also added a nice settings menu which allows you to customize some of the grid settings. So we need to begin to create a new plugin. My recommendation is to copy and paste one of the sample plugins from the Unreal Engine plugins folder and rename it to naming your plugin. You'll need to go through and rename the files, classes, plugin names throughout so that it does not conflict with existing plugins. Then regenerate your project file so you can edit it nicely inside of Visual Studio or your preferred IDE. The key file for the plugin is the U plugin file. It's pretty similar to a U project file. And when you're creating your own plugin, you should probably treat it like its own project. Plugins have their own lifecycle, which comes in the form of these two functions, startup module and shutdown module. The startup function is called after the plugin has loaded, and the shutdown function is called as you'd expect when the plugin is shut down. If you have copied one of the starter samples, you will find these functions stubbed and ready for you to add your own custom logic. I'm going to jump now into Visual Studio and talk about some of the key classes and elements of the grid navigation system. I threw this together in the last week or so it might look a bit rough. here's the startup functions. Startup functions. In here I set up anything that the module needs to load. And the shutdown module cleaning up after itself. So as you can see further down here, we also have some functionality which demonstrates how to extend the build menu and the quick settings menu. This allows you to add really nice buttons on the user interface so that the level designers or whoever is using the engine knows where to look to find this stuff. So there's a lot of these add menu extension hooks around the place. It's really just a matter of having a look around and in the engine and seeing where these extenders are. And they follow a lot of the Slate practices and Slate menus. So an interesting thing about this function is this is called every time the level editor build menu is clicked on, and it regenerates this menu. Which all we're adding here is a build grid function and a rebuild grid and a clear grid. So if you want to include content with your plugin, you also need to add the functionality can contain content to the plugin descriptor. So you can see on my plugin descriptor has the can contain content, which allows it to include a content folder. So you just need to add a content folder to your plugin directory. It means this plugin can now add any blueprint or art asset that's required. You can also see the two modules that I've outlined here, the runtime module and the editor module. The editor modules only are used when the editor is started up, and the runtime module is used by both. So when you're adding code that, I think I may have jumped a slide there, sorry. When adding code that needs to be exposed to other modules, including modules that are inside the same plugin, you need to decide which parts of it should be exposed. For example, the grid node class, the movement component class, and the A-star pathfinding logic needs to be exposed so the game can use it. There are two ways to do this. You can expose the entire class, including all methods and members, by adding the plugin name underscore API as a prefix before the class, where the plugin name is the name of your plugin. Or by adding the minimal API tag to the class, which exports the bare minimum of information about the object, including type information. You can then add any functions individually that need to be accessed directly by adding the same plugin API name. All you then have to do is statically link against the module from your game code. So as you saw before, I showed you the grid settings menu that I created, which allowed variables to be changed for the grid generation system. To set it up, is the register settings function. And this registers a single class with the registration, the settings system, sorry, which is actually contained in a different module. So as you can see here, it's exposed using the default config option assigned to the engine config, and then each of the variables that need to be exposed are. And then Unreal takes care of the rest, and it generates that nice form that you saw before inside the project settings menu. Just some last notes for me, I'll keep it short because I know we're running behind. Threading. The grid generation system doesn't use any threading. This is something that I would like to change in the future. The reason for this is I use a lot of traces, and when generating the grid, you cannot really touch the world while in other threads. You can only do that from the main thread. I feel like there might be a way around this by shifting data between the threads. But I didn't find a way to integrate this in the time frame. On the Unreal Engine wiki there, you can find some pre-made plugins, as well as some more ideas about things you can do with plugins. I hope this has given you some insight into the plugin system.